everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's the end of February, which means it's nearly March, which means it is time for another bullet journal video. So if you're up for watching that, take a seat, grab a cup of tea or your beverage of choice, and let's get into it. Okay, so let's get started with this bullet journal setup for March. And the theme that I've chosen this month is a Broadway theme. Now, this spread ended up being very minimalist. All I did to achieve this theme was use the Broadway font. I don't know if the font is actually called Broadway font or if it's just a general Art Deco font and Broadway happened to use it a lot. But if you Google Broadway font, it comes up, so that's what I'm calling it. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you'll see it as the setup goes on because I use it for this whole spread and theme. So seeing as I've gone with a Broadway theme for this month, the show of the week is The Producers. So I'll put a link to the cast recording in the description down below if you've not heard The Producers before and you'd like to check it out. So starting off with my calendar layout, still one page, still not that much going on. And at the top, I've written a theatrical quote which reads, "Theatre is the art form of the present. It exists in the present and then it's gone," which is a quote from Simon McBurney, which when I was looking at quotes to go in that little gap, this one really jumped out to me because that's the thing that I love about theatre. I love the fact that it's different every night. I love that it's a special one-of-a-kind moment between the players and the audience. That's the thing that really excites me about it. So I definitely wanted to use that quote. And then on the next page, when I get to it, I've got my monthly task list and my thoughts of the month. This is the only spread where I have done a little bit of doodling. I did look up doodles to use in this spread, and also, as you can see, I have got washi tape with me, which I didn't end up using. It just didn't feel right. It didn't feel like it matched the vibe I wanted to go for. And similarly with the doodles, I didn't think the cartoony style that a lot of the doodles that I could find online to copy was really what I wanted to go for. I wanted a more classic feel. And if I was a better drawer, I would probably have done a kind of Art Deco, a few kind of motifs, maybe the comedy and tragedy masks or microphones or things like that. But I'm not good enough at drawing to be able to do that, so I didn't. In an ideal world, that's probably what I would have done just to give this theme another level. Having said that, I did really like how this turned out in the end, as you'll see in the flip through. It is very minimalist, it's monochrome, just black and white, and very simple and very functional, but the font kind of gives it that fun, different edge. Whereas I think if I'd just done this simple spread with cursive hand lettering or just my own handwriting, it wouldn't have looked as like it was much of a choice, like an artistic choice, if that makes sense. On to my next two spreads, and I've got my ideas spread, which I absolutely love setting this up. It's so easy, just a title at the top, and if that's all you want to do, that's all that needs to happen. It's great. And the next page is my habit and mood trackers. This is the same as the last few months. The only thing that I've changed is that I've made the writing calendar tracker into a writing and reading tracker. This is because I do want to track my reading. I feel like, well, I don't feel like, it is. Reading and writing are very much combined. You can't really be a good writer and not read. And reading, from a lot of my more prominent writer friends, is an essential part to the writing process and vice versa. So I decided rather than rejigging the whole spread to try and fit an extra tracker in, I would just make those one tracker. So whenever I do some reading or do some writing, I will track that on the same calendar. And it's kind of what I'm doing with my music tracker as well. If I practice ukulele, practice singing, practice another instrument, actively listen to something, I will track that on my music tracker. It's just the one place where I track it because they are all intertwined. So I kind of thought, why not do the same with reading and writing? You'll also notice here on the titles of each of the trackers, I've only done the first letter in that Broadway font style, and then the rest of the word is written in a similar font, kind of similar to the Broadway font and also similar to the font I used in my February plan with me, that kind of typewriter font, but without the serifs, so like the little sticky out bits. So that just helped because the Broadway font, because it was a new font for me, and also just the way it's styled takes up quite a lot of space width-wise, it just allowed me to put all the titles in that I wanted. The next spread is a new one, and that is videos for March, or March videos. In hindsight, I probably should have called this April videos because I'm filming things in advance, but hey ho. It's also, I guess I can think of it as videos that I'm filming in March, but we'll wait and see. And as you can tell by the fact that I'm now looking at my grid spacing chart and I've got a pencil in my hands, I forgot to plan out this page before filming. So I just really quickly did a very basic layout. It's basically just a big rectangle split into 4 sections, a section for each week, week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4. I'll put the number of the week in the top left-hand corner. Underneath that, I'll write whatever the video title is going to be. And then in the main space for each section, I'm not sure how I'm going to use it yet. This is a new spread I've not done before, so it might be that I use that section to brainstorm. It might be that I use that section as a mini video outline area. It might be that I use that section to schedule when I'm going to write the outline, when I'm going to film, when I'm going to edit. I don't know yet. So I've put in this spread. I'm going to see how it works with this month, and then if it needs tweaking for next month, or if it just doesn't work, then I can switch it up. And then the next spread is my blog planning spread, and this is exactly the same as last month, just 4 sections for the title, intro, body, and conclusion. Also for the titles for these ones, I left the thicker part of the lettering blank. I left it white. I don't think that's usually how this font is done, but I just really liked the contrast from the other pages where I did colour that space in. The next 2 spreads are also new spreads for this month, and these are goal, reflection, and planning spreads. So if you watched my beginning of the year setup, you will know that I'm trialing out making goals in 3-month chunks. So I make a goal for 3 months, and then when those 3 months come to an end, I will then make goals for the next 3 months, and so on throughout the year. And obviously March is the last month of that section. It's the 3rd month of the year, so I need to this month reflect on my goals from the beginning of the year and make new goals for April to June. So that's what these spreads are for. So on this first page is reflections on my goals. So again, it's just a big box split into rows. So we've got rows for singing, acting, creative writing, articles, Spanish, YouTube, and blogs. I've got a column for my successes. So that's where I'll write down what went well, what I managed to achieve, what I enjoyed, maybe, whatever I want to put down in the successes section. And then I've got a larger column for thoughts. So this is when I can reflect on what worked, what didn't work, what I might want to do differently for my next set of goals, if any of the goals were too stretching or too easy, so I can really think about what's working for me and what's not. And then on the next page, I have my goals for April to June, and that will be exactly the same for the same areas. I'll have a column for, I have a column for my long-term goals, which I will also reflect on. It might be that my long-term goals, I might want to tweak them slightly. And then a larger section where I can write down what my goal for the next 3 months in each of those sections of my life is. Ideally, kind of the perfectionist in me would have wanted to make these spreads at the end of March, so after I'd done my weekly layout for the final week of March. But I know that now that I've got them in my bullet journal, even though I will have to flick back to them, at least they're there, so that when it comes to me actually reflecting on my goals, I don't have to plan out time to set up the spread and then reflect. I can just get straight into thinking about what I want to do differently, what worked, what didn't, etc., etc. This setup took me so long. It took me 2 hours to set up this whole thing. By this point, my hand was definitely hurting. You can see the lettering's gone a little bit interesting. I always find when I'm trying a new hand lettering style that I've not done before, that it always takes me a lot longer to set up. Also, I had a lot of extra pages that I was setting up this month, so that also added to the time that it took me. But yeah, it was a long one. I was very hungry by the end of filming this. This week, when I'm filming this, has been a bit of a tough one for me, to be honest. I think that's why I really wanted to do a theatre-based theme. And even though I didn't go crazy with doodling or anything like that, I did find it really therapeutic. I've been missing theatre a lot. There's been a lot of triggering moments at work, which I won't go into, but yeah, I've been really struggling. Also with having the energy to be creative. I'm at the stage in my training now where a lot of the time we're just doing a lot of reading. And so just sitting reading page after page after page, I come to the end of the day and I have hardly any energy, and that's been really hard, especially because obviously I want to be as creative as possible, even during this time where I'm having to give some of my energy elsewhere to, pay to live. So that's been quite difficult, and that's something that definitely I want to try and troubleshoot over the next week and see if I can come up with solutions for that. I've already got some ideas of what can maybe make that better, but yeah, that's definitely something that I'm looking to work on. So as you can see, I am now doing my weekly layout, my weekly spreads, same as ever. One of the things I didn't do on this setup, but I have been thinking about since filming me setting up this video, is maybe switching up my gratitude log a tiny bit. This is because I don't use the whole column anyway, and there are sometimes times when I haven't really thought of things throughout the week, and then at the end of the week I'm like, oh, what was I grateful for this week? So I might divide the column into the different days, so Monday to Sunday, and then have a space at the bottom for like extra things just in general that I was grateful for, just to make sure that I'm practicing gratitude a bit more frequently. I think now I've got the idea of practicing gratitude, it would be good to make it a more frequent practice and not so much of an afterthought, especially when I've had busy weeks. And then we're going to add a drop shadow because everyone loves a drop shadow. And yeah, so here is my final flip through of my bullet journal setup for March. I really like how this turned out. I really like how minimalist and clean it looks, and I'm really looking forward to using these spreads throughout the month of March. So that was my bullet journal setup for March. A very, very minimalist setup, but I really loved how it turned out, and I hope you enjoyed watching it. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing. Would love to have you on the channel. Stay tuned for more theatre content from a UK perspective, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye, friends!